The night before the wedding, my younger sister, Autumn, who was about to marry into a wealthy family, suddenly spoke up. "Sister, please don't be a bridesmaid tomorrow." I was helping her try on the bracelet I had painstakingly beaded myself, and I didn't quite hear her. Her voice was as soft and delicate as ever. "Even though you're my only sister, the vitiligo on your face, guests will talk. I don't want Brandon to see me as a flawed jewel. To be blunt, having you by my side would embarrass me." My hands paused. I never imagined she thought so little of me. Mother draped a shawl over Autumn, offering no objection, as if in silent agreement with her daughter's words. "You've always been good to me, Summer, always yielding since we were little. But tomorrow is my big day. Brandon comes from a good family, and I don't want his friends to mock me because of you, saying my family is nothing special." I looked down at the bracelet made of 108 shimmering pearls in my hand. It was a dowry gift I had personally chosen and crafted for her. Now, this gift seemed to symbolize my own imperfection. I slowly removed the bracelet from her wrist and placed it back in its box. "All right," I said softly. Autumn sighed in relief. "You're the best sister, I knew it. You always love me most." Mother stroked her long, silky hair, her eyes brimming with pride. "Come on, don't stand here any longer. Go get some rest. You need to be the most beautiful bride tomorrow." I quietly cleared everything from the table, carefully putting away each bridesmaid accessory. I had actually grown accustomed to this feeling long ago. That familiarity began when I was 13. That summer, I fell severely ill, leaving a fingernail-sized patch of vitiligo on my left cheek. Initially, my parents were very worried, taking me to doctors everywhere for treatment. But 6 months later, my sister, then 11, discovered a similar patch on her back while bathing. The atmosphere in our home immediately grew heavy. The doctor explained it was an autoimmune disease, requiring lengthy and expensive treatment, with no guarantee of complete recovery. That night thirsty, I woke up and overheard my parents arguing in their room. Both of them, "Summer, the company just started, where would we get the money?" Father's voice was strained. Mother whispered, "Then let's treat one of them first. Autumn is still young, her future is long. Besides, her vitiligo is on her back, it can be hidden, and her chances of recovery are higher." "What about Summer?" Father asked. "Summer is the elder sister, she should know how to yield to her younger sister. Moreover, her mark is on her face, it's already ruined. Treating it would be pointless, just a waste of money." The glass of water in my hand fell, shattering on the floor. I didn't cry. I just silently cleaned up the shards, then returned to my room, pulling the blanket over my head. From that day on, I became the understanding elder sister they wanted. All the family's resources began to be poured into Autumn. As for me, I only ever heard the phrase, "Summer, you must yield to your sister." In that indifference, my vitiligo, once the size of a fingernail, spread to almost half my face, like an imperfect gem. Back in the present, I carefully placed the last piece of jewelry into its box. "Mother, I'll head home first." Only then did Mother look at me, her brow furrowed. "Remember to come early tomorrow to help out. Even if you're not a bridesmaid, there are still many odd jobs at the wedding." "Yes," I replied, stepping out of my sister's room. In the living room, my father was chatting happily with Autumn's fiancé. Upon seeing me, Brandon's smile faltered slightly. He simply nodded, a mere acknowledgement. His gaze lingered on the vitiligo on my face for less than half a second before quickly turning away. We had once been close friends, growing up together. Before he went abroad to study, he had held my hand and said, "Summer, wait for me." But when he returned, faced with my flawed appearance and my beautiful, talented sister, he was disappointed. I never told him that the idea of helping my sister shine in the company was entirely mine. Mother used to say, "Summer, you must yield to your sister, you must support her." I stepped out of the house, the cool night breeze caressing my face. I looked up at the moon, bright and perfectly round, without a single blemish. The next day, before dawn, I was already at the venue. Though no longer a bridesmaid, I had countless tasks to attend to. From making final confirmations with the florist to discussing the detailed wedding menu, then repeatedly practicing the guest reception protocol. I was like a wound-up top, spinning endlessly. Mother was delighted with my sensible behavior. She pulled me into the dressing room and told the makeup artist to touch up Autumn. "Our Autumn is already beautiful and her skin is so smooth. A little light makeup and she'll look like a fairy." She then turned to me, smiling faintly. Summer, you should also ask the makeup artist to cover your vitiligo a bit. There will be many guests today, don't let it show too much. My vitiligo patch was quite large. No matter how thick the makeup, it couldn't completely conceal it, only making my skin look more uneven and noticeable. I had tried once but gave up. No need, mother. I have to oversee things backstage. There isn't enough time. The makeup artist and bridesmaids looked at me with pity. I pretended not to notice. When the ceremony began, I stood in an inconspicuous corner of the banquet hall, holding a walkie-talkie, ready to handle any situation. Autumn, wearing the wedding dress I had chosen for her, walked hand in hand with my father onto the stage, approaching Brandon. She truly looked as beautiful as a princess from a fairy tale. My father placed her hand in Brandon's, his eyes red and tearful, choked up as he said, "Young Brandon, I entrust the most precious treasure of our family to you. Please treat her well." Everyone below applauded thunderously, but I felt like an outsider. Every detail of this wedding was the result of my half-year's effort. Even the red sports car, part of Autumn's dowry, had its deposit paid from years of my accumulated savings. My parents had said, "The family has spent so much on your sister's medical treatment. The dowry can't be too simple, or the groom's family will look down on us. As the older sister, it's only natural for you to contribute a little more." But at that moment, no one remembered me. The MC on stage joyfully introduced the bride, Autumn, not only beautiful, but also CEO Brandon's right-hand woman. Many of the company's major projects are handled by her. She truly is a talent. I lowered my head, a bitter smile twisting my lips. Those projects and sleepless nights had ultimately become her glory. When it was time for the toast, they moved from table to table, inviting guests for drinks. At Brandon's friend's table, a man whistled and jokingly said, "Brandon, your wife is really unique." His gaze, undisguised, fixed directly on me. The entire hall suddenly fell silent for a moment. Autumn blanched, gripping Brandon's hand tightly. My mother immediately laughed and said, "She's never paid much attention to her appearance since childhood, only focused on her work. She's a doer, very practical." Brandon raised his glass, glancing at me with a cold expression. "Don't talk nonsense, she is my wife, Summer." I also raised my glass and drank in one gulp, then smiled at them. "Please continue, everyone. I'll go check on the situation in the kitchen." I turned and walked away, the whispers of the guests rising behind me. What a shame, I initially heard that CEO Brandon and the bride were childhood friends. Yeah, but looking at this, who would dare to marry her? It's just an embarrassment to be seen with her. Still, the younger sister is both beautiful and talented, truly worthy of CEO Brandon. I entered the empty inner area, finally finding a little space to breathe. On my phone screen was a photo of Brandon and me from high school. Back then, the vitiligo on my face could still be covered with makeup, and I smiled brightly without a single worry. As for Brandon, his eyes were only for me. "Summer, you weren't like this before." That's what he said when he came back and saw me with my excellent younger sister. Yes, I was no longer the same. The once radiant and strong girl, Summer, had long since disappeared, eroded by my parents' constant refrain, "You must yield to your sister." I deleted that photo, erasing a memory that had become damaged and rotten. Autumn and Brandon went on their honeymoon for half a month on an island. Throughout that half-month, the company was surprisingly calm. Finally, I could devote myself wholeheartedly to the new project I was in charge of, the CloudStream smart home system. On Autumn's first day back, she immediately walked into my office. "Sister, the honeymoon was so tiring. Brandon kept dragging me everywhere," she complained, but her voice carried a hint of pride. I nodded. "Then rest up when you get back." "Rest? What rest?" She sat down opposite me, picking up the project plan on my desk to look at it. "Brandon said this CloudStream project is very important. It's the company's strategic priority for the second half of the year, no mistakes allowed." My heart sank, I had a bad feeling. And then Autumn looked up, flashing an innocent smile. "So, Brandon decided to put me in charge of this project. And you, since you have more experience, could you be my assistant, help me review and oversee everything?" My fingers clenched, nails digging deep into my palms. On what grounds? Those 3 words choked in my throat, but I couldn't utter them. I looked at her. Her eyes were exactly like they were when she was 10 years old and snatched away my only doll. At that time, Mother had also said, "Autumn likes it, Summer. You're the older sister, give it to her." Is this a company decision or CEO Brandon's? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Is there a difference? Autumn chuckled softly, hugging the project plan to her chest. Don't worry, sister. If the project succeeds, I won't forget your hard work. We're sisters after all. What's yours is mine. Why be so clear-cut about everything? She finished speaking, then swaggered out of the room. My office was left with only me and a cold, empty space in my heart. That evening, I went home. My parents were watching TV. Mother asked, "Have you eaten yet?" I went straight to the point. "Mother, the company has put Autumn in charge of the Cloudstream project." Mother paused for a moment, then beamed. "Really? That's wonderful. Our Autumn truly is talented. To be given such a huge responsibility right after getting married, Brandon really didn't misjudge her." My father nodded in agreement. Autumn works very hard, and with her elder sister supporting her, this project will definitely succeed. Each word felt like a heavy stone dropping into my heart. I developed that project from beginning to end. You know that, don't you? Mother's voice remained gentle, as if nothing was amiss. But you're the older sister. Helping your younger sister is normal. Now Autumn is the lady boss, her position is secure, and it will be easier for you at the company too, won't it? Such a lack of foresight. Foresight? I let out a bitter laugh. Mother, do you mean I have to sacrifice everything for my sister? Summer, my father angrily roared, his face darkening. What kind of way is that to talk to your mother? For so many years, our whole family has been dedicated to your sister. What's the problem with you, as the elder sister, helping her a little, enduring a little hardship? Is it that flaw in your face that's made you so narrow-minded and envious? I looked at the two people I used to call my parents, and suddenly they seemed terrifyingly alien. They didn't see my efforts, didn't acknowledge the pain I was enduring. They only saw my flaws and my sister's perfection. I took a deep breath, trying to control the lump in my throat. All right, I understand. I turned my back and started to walk away. Where are you going? Mother called after me. Don't you have work at the company? I didn't dare to look back, afraid they would see the glistening tears in my eyes. That night, I worked overtime at the company nonstop. I gathered all the important data for the project, organized it, and sent it to Autumn. At the end of the email, I wrote only one sentence: "This is the last time I will yield to you." For the next month, I became Autumn's assistant. Brandon's gaze, when he looked at Autumn, was always filled with love and admiration. Occasionally, his eyes would sweep past me, but only to reveal deeper disappointment. Until that day, my father suddenly called. "Summer, hurry to the hospital. Your mother suddenly collapsed." I immediately rushed to the hospital. Mother had already been taken to the emergency room. My father stood in the hallway, his face ashen. Autumn was clinging to Brandon, sobbing uncontrollably. The doctor emerged, his face etched with worry. "The patient is suffering from acute liver failure and requires an immediate liver transplant." A liver transplant? My father's voice trembled. What about the donor's liver? "Sir, we've submitted information to the National Organ Donation Network, but we can't determine the waiting time. The best solution now is a living donor, a family member. The patient has a rare blood type. Rh-B. This is very uncommon. Which of you has that blood type?" Everyone looked at each other. My father was type A, Brandon was type O. Autumn and I were sent for blood tests. The waiting period for the results felt like an eternity. Autumn gripped my hand, her palm was icy cold and trembling continuously. "Sister, I'm scared, I'm so scared." I squeezed her hand, gently stroking the back of it. An hour later, the nurse brought out the test results. "Who is Summer?" "That's me." I stood up. "After preliminary checks, your blood type is a perfect match for the patient, and you can be a donor." All eyes turned to me. Autumn released my hand, exhaling in relief. The nurse then turned to her, speaking formally. "Ms. Autumn, your blood type is B positive, not compatible." Autumn looked stunned. The entire family knew Mother had a rare, panda blood type, Rh-B. Everyone had assumed that at least one of the two sisters would inherit it. But no one expected that the one with the rare blood type would be me, the daughter with the vitiligo on her face, forgotten since childhood. Mother was transferred to a special recovery room. The surgery was scheduled for tomorrow morning. Before the operation, I went to visit her. She lay on the hospital bed, her body connected to countless tubes and IVs. When she saw me, her clouded eyes suddenly brightened, and she tried to reach out to me. I stepped closer and took her hand. She whispered in a weak voice, Autumn, my good daughter, I knew you would save me. She called my sister's name and squeezed my hand tighter. In that moment, I felt as if the blood in my veins had frozen. Even between life and death, her heart still only held her perfect daughter. I felt that my own name wasn't even worthy for her to remember. I slowly detached each of her fingers from mine, looking at her with an expressionless face. When I stepped out of the patient room, Father and Brandon immediately rushed over. "Summer, how is your mother?" Seeing the worry and eagerness on their faces, I suddenly felt a twisted sense of humor. "The surgery can proceed, but I have a condition." Everyone was taken aback. My father's brows furrowed tightly. He was the first to react. "Summer, what are you saying? That's your mother. How dare you make conditions?" "Yes, she is my mother." I looked at him directly. "But the one who will lie on the operating table, having a part of her liver removed, will be me." My gaze lingered on my father, then Brandon, and finally Autumn. "I want everyone to write a declaration severing ties. It must state clearly, I, Summer, donating my liver to save my mother, will henceforth have no further connection to this family." "Are you insane?" My father was so furious he was shaking, pointing a finger at me and yelling, "Just for a liver, you dare to be so heartless towards your parents." I ignored him, continuing my demands. "I also want the company to issue a public announcement clarifying who the true person in charge of the Cloudstream project is. And I want Autumn to personally apologize to me in front of the entire project team." Autumn feigned weakness, cowering behind Brandon. "Sister, you're being too much. You know Mother can't live without you, so why?" I cut her off coldly. "When you all knew I couldn't live without my parents' love, why did you continuously cast me aside? Compared to the more than 10 years you stripped everything from me, my demands now are too mild." Brandon's expression turned ugly. He spoke up, trying to mediate. "Summer, severing ties is a bit extreme, isn't it? After all, we're family. There's no need to go that far. As for the project, I agree with you. I'll take care of it immediately." "Brandon," I called him by his name, my voice cold. "This is my family's private matter. You don't need to worry about it." I turned to my father, who was too angry to speak. "My conditions have been stated. Now, either agree to draft the declaration, prepare the announcement and the apology, or just wait for an unknown organ donation to become available." I turned as if to leave. "Wait," my father hurriedly called me back. "All right, you've grown wings, haven't you? Think you're so clever?" He ground out each word bitterly. "I will write it. I want to see how a girl with a scar on her face like you will live after cutting ties with this family." He went to the nurse's station for paper and a pen, wrote the declaration, and then forcefully threw the paper in front of me. "Sign it, fingerprint it, then go save your mother." I bent down to pick up the paper. It was filled with contempt for me. The last sentence read, "Summer is henceforth no longer associated with the Luo family." I took out the lipstick I carried, fiercely pressing my thumbprint onto my name. "Brandon, would you kindly be a witness?" Brandon looked at me for a long time, his gaze profound. "All right." Autumn tried to say something, but Brandon's serious look stopped her. She stared at me with resentment and unwillingness. In my heart, there was only an empty calm. I had reclaimed what was mine, but I had to pay with my own body. It was truly sad. The next morning, before the surgery began, I received a notification from the company. The red stamp document clearly stated that the entire process and development of the Cloudstream project had been independently managed by me, Summer. Autumn was merely a later support staff member. Brandon himself had signed the confirmation. Immediately after, Autumn's phone rang. "Summer, are you satisfied now? Everyone is laughing at me. You've ruined me." I only took back what was mine. I replied coldly. She was too angry to speak, then hung up. I deleted the email, turned off my phone, and changed into the surgical gown. As the nurse led me into the operating room, my father and Brandon stood right outside the door. My father's expression was complex, as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, he only sighed deeply. Brandon stepped forward slightly, lowering his voice. "Summer, I'm sorry, and thank you." I didn't look at him, simply told the nurse, "Let's go." The anesthetic slowly spread through my body, and my consciousness began to fade. Before losing consciousness completely, I thought, this is good. Cutting off a part of my liver was like severing my past relationship with this family. From now on, what I had done for them was enough. I owed them nothing more. The surgery was successful. I stayed in the hospital for half a month, my body slowly recovering. During that half month, my father and Autumn visited every day, their attitudes surprisingly enthusiastic. Father peeled apples for me. Autumn massaged my stiff limbs, numb from lying still for so long. They were reserved, trying to mend the broken relationship. Brandon also visited a few times, but each time he just stood silently outside, looking at me. Then he would place a bouquet of flowers or a fruit basket down and leave without a word. It seemed there was nothing left to exchange between us. Mother recovered well and was transferred to a regular room. When she regained consciousness, Father immediately told her the whole truth. Mother remained silent for a long time. When she came to visit me, she held my hand and for the first time seriously looked at the vitiligo on my face. "Summer, Mother has wronged you all these years." I pulled my hand back, shaking my head. "You haven't wronged me, Mother. You simply didn't love me." A gentle apology like that was not enough to carry the weight of the resentment I had borne for over a decade. Mother's eyes turned red and tears streamed down her face, but I felt absolutely nothing. I didn't need her tears, nor did I need her apology anymore. After being discharged from the hospital, I went to the company first. My desk had been neatly cleaned. Colleagues greeted me cheerfully, their eyes showing clear respect and a touch of awkwardness. After the company issued the official correction regarding the Cloudstream project, the news had spread far and wide. Autumn's reputation quickly plummeted. I walked into Brandon's office and placed an envelope on his desk. "What is this?" he asked. "My resignation letter." Brandon's pupils immediately constricted. "Why, Summer? I realize I was wrong, that I misunderstood you before. Now that everything is clear, the Cloudstream project still belongs to you. I will support you wholeheartedly." "No need," I said. "I've lost interest in this project, just as I've lost interest in that house and in you." "Is it because of Autumn?" he asked, his voice anxious. "Don't worry, I've put her on leave for self-reflection. She won't interfere with your work anymore." "No, it's not because of her." I shook my head. "Brandon, I'm just tired. I don't want to fight anymore, nor do I want to yield any further." I looked at the man I had loved for so many years. "Do you know, when you came back, your words, 'You're not like you used to be, Summer,' hurt me more than any ridicule. I didn't become like this because I wanted to. My family systematically pushed me to this point. I once thought that at least you would understand everything, that you would stand by me, but you didn't. Your disappointment was the final drop that made me crumble." Brandon opened his mouth but couldn't utter a word. I turned and opened the office door. "Brandon, I wish you and Autumn happiness on your wedding day." I didn't look back, simply walked out of the building I had been bound to for years. The warm sunlight shone on my shoulders, warmer than it had ever been before. I decided to return home one last time. There were many things I wanted to resolve myself. When I opened the door, Autumn was on the sofa, wearing a face mask, while Father sat beside her, reading financial news. Everything was exactly as it had been when I left, nothing had changed. Upon seeing me, Autumn immediately removed her mask, smiling brightly. "Sister, you're back. Is your health better?" Father also folded his newspaper, clearing his throat. "It's good you're back. Family shouldn't be angry for too long. Your mother keeps mentioning you. Come back and live here." They thought I had returned because I had yielded. I didn't answer, walking directly into my room. The room was the same, except for a few makeup items on my desk that weren't mine, and some of Autumn's dresses hanging in my closet. My personal space, as usual, had been spontaneously encroached upon by her. I took out 2 suitcases and began to pack my belongings. Autumn followed me in, her eyes bewildered as she looked at me. "Sister, what are you doing?" Father already said, "Don't make a big deal out of it." I didn't reply, just silently packed each item into my suitcase. My father stood at the doorway, frowning and yelling, "Summer, haven't you done enough? You donated your liver. The whole family is grateful, but that doesn't mean you can use it to coerce your parents. Let me tell you, that declaration of severing ties is nothing more than a meaningless piece of paper." I paused. "Coerce?" I burst out laughing. "Father, do you know, for over 10 years, every night I dreamed of going back to when I was 13. Back to when I wasn't sick, when my parents still loved me. But now, it's no longer necessary." I rummaged through a side pocket of my old backpack and pulled out a faded notebook. "Do you think I'm just causing trouble, Father?" I opened the notebook and placed it on the coffee table. Inside were detailed records. I had started writing since I was 16. You always said the company was new, and household expenses were huge. But did you know, Father? Every penny for Autumn's extra tutoring and talent classes from high school to university came from my scholarships, from the money I earned tutoring on weekends. Did you think the money Mother spent taking her for treatment in High Thigh, in that luxurious hospital room, was paid by the company? That was money I got from giving up my direct admission to graduate school, starting work early, and receiving 2 years' salary in advance. As for Autumn's graduation design, you once praised her as very talented. I was the one who stayed up all night, making models and writing the thesis for her. Her actual graduation design was hastily done in 3 days and only received an average grade. I flipped through the pages of the notebook, tears silently falling. Autumn's face turned pale. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. My father's eyes also changed, from aggressive to utterly disbelieving. He picked up the notebook, scrutinizing the dates, amounts, and detailed notes. His hands began to tremble. "Why didn't you tell us?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "I did tell you," I replied, looking at him. "When I was in 12th grade, I wanted to apply to the Academy of Fine Arts. Father, you said it was a waste, impractical, and made me study finance so I could come back and help with the company later. Yet you let Autumn study piano because you said a talented daughter would find it easier to marry well later. When I was a sophomore in college, I wanted to use my savings to try laser treatment just once. Mother said the money had to be saved for Autumn's follow-up appointments. Every time I spoke up, you all shut me down with, 'You're the elder sister, you must be understanding.' Gradually, I stopped speaking. It wasn't because you didn't know, it was because you didn't care." My father's hands trembled as he held the notebook. "And this?" I pulled out a stack of documents from my suitcase and dumped them onto the table. One was the deposit receipt for Autumn's red sports car. The payer was me. Another was a copy of the wedding gift list from Brandon's family. It clearly stated a car of equal value was required as part of the dowry. "Parents," I looked towards my mother, who had just emerged from her room, her face stark white, clearly having overheard everything. "You two said our family had exhausted all its money treating Autumn. You said I was the elder sister, so I had to help my younger sister." I laughed and cried at the same time, a bitter, twisted smile. "But have you forgotten? I also suffered from that disease. I was the one abandoned in treatment. All your money was spent on Autumn. Even the money I earned was transferred to it. So, what right do you have to demand that I continue to be understanding?" "Summer," my mother finally erupted in anger, lunging to slap me, but I was faster, grabbing her wrist. "Don't touch me." The moment I lay on the operating table, I told myself, "The part of the liver I cut out was to repay your kindness for giving birth to me. From now on, you bore me, I saved you. There are no longer any debts between us." "As for Father," I pushed Mother's hand away and turned to the man in front of me. "I've repaid you even more than that. The first major project of your company, I used my university professor connections to help you secure it. When the company faced difficulties, its finances almost collapsing, I used my own money, saved for my treatment, to save you. At the time, I even lied and said I won the lottery." I turned back to Autumn, pointing at her and screaming in despair. "You raised her to be perfect but useless, incapable of doing anything worthwhile. Everything she has achieved is thanks to my exploitation. I refuse to sacrifice anymore. This house was never where I belonged. It was only my debt. I dedicated my youth, my health, my emotions, and my future to raising your daughter for over 10 years. Now, I have paid that debt in full." My father seemed to collapse, slumping onto the sofa, the notebook falling to the floor. He always thought he was the pillar of the family, the support for his daughters. But he didn't realize that the very child he had personally destroyed was the true foundation of this home. My mother stared at the patch of vitiligo on my face, then burst into sobs. "Summer, I was wrong, truly wrong. It's too late. When I truly needed love, you chose to abandon me. Now I don't need it anymore." I zipped up my suitcase, not looking at them again. "Father, that declaration of severing ties, I'll frame it and hang it on the wall of my new home. It's not just a worthless piece of paper. It's proof of my rebirth." I pulled my luggage and walked out of the prison that had confined me for over 20 years. Brandon stood in front of the door. It was unclear how long he had been waiting, his face looking terrible. "Summer, I..." Brandon, please move. You're blocking my way. He looked at me with eyes full of remorse. I've already prepared to divorce Autumn. Oh, I nodded. Congratulations on making the right decision at the right time. I walked past him without looking back. I left that city and went to a hospital. I wanted to heal my face. The doctor said that because I had left it for too long, I had missed the best opportunity for treatment. Complete recovery was not possible, but with proper treatment, the spread could be prevented and it could even be partially faded. I accepted that outcome, just as I accepted that I was an unloved child. The treatment process was lengthy. In my free time, I often sat in the courtyard to draw. It was my childhood dream. Occasionally, I heard news from old colleagues. Brandon had officially divorced Autumn, giving her no chance to hold on. The Brandon family was very prestigious and valued their reputation. A daughter-in-law who achieved success by undermining her older sister was something they could never accept. After being expelled from the Brandon family, Autumn returned to the company but couldn't do anything of value. The Cloudstream project quickly became a mess under her management. My father's company also fared no better. Due to a lack of operating capital and no longer having support from the Brandon family, after only half a year, the company had to declare bankruptcy. My mother's health steadily declined. Autumn alone couldn't bear the weight of all these problems. One day, an old colleague cautiously called me. "Summer, do you hate them?" I looked out into the garden, where sunflowers bloomed brilliantly, and smiled gently. No, not anymore, because hate consumes energy and emotion, and they are no longer worthy of my effort or feelings. I blocked all contact and completely cut ties with the past. A year later, my paintings were exhibited in a small, local renowned art gallery and sold for a relatively high price. I used that money for reconstructive surgery to graft skin. For the surgery, I signed the consent form myself. Before the anesthetic took effect, I suddenly remembered the wedding day when Autumn said I was like a flawed jewel. But in reality, a broken jewel can still be recarved and given a new form. Just like me, only by breaking free from the past could I create an entirely new version of myself. The surgery was very successful. The vitiligo on my left cheek, which had accompanied me for over 10 years, was now just a lighter patch of new skin, like a faint, hazy cloud. Music.